This is a special report coming to you from the Skills and Technology Newsroom, high atop the towering metropolis of New York City. The following information has... Oh my God, I can't really do this for real. Anyway, here you go, Lou. Take it away.
And this happened. The shoot's done for the day. I'm complimenting the camera operator on his awesome equipment. I'm looking at all the colors and bells and whistles as he's putting the stuff away. The footage is getting downloaded. It gets handed off to the post-production crew. And from the post-production office, I hear, how am I going to work with this? Where's the timeline? How are we going to work together on this thing? So two people are upset. Nobody knows what's going on. Joe, explain what happened there.
All right. What happened there is those cameras, the prosumer cameras, a lot of the DSLRs don't do timecode, which means they don't capture anything. They don't capture the timecode. Timecode's critical for syncing up things together. If you listen to one of our other sound bites, we actually talk about slates and hand claps and all of that. But the best and efficient way is to have timecode. If you're working in a professional workflow environment, you go from capture, which is where your cameras and your audio is being captured. That media then gets transferred over to the post-production people, and the post-production people then load it in, and they need three things. They need a visual, they need an audio track, and they need a timecode track, because that's the way they're going to scan forward and back and match their cameras. That's what happens in a pro environment. So when these cameras don't do that, then you're stepping away from the actual work or the methodology of what a professional work environment is, going from these different disciplines as you move through the process.
So what's the advice you'd give, someone newer in the business that's got a little experience, they've got a little, couple of bucks to spend on something. They see this thing, this camera, this DSLR that takes great images and captures really well, but it is missing that critical, component. Then all of a sudden they realize, holy cow, I just spent all this money and I really didn't buy a pro piece of equipment.
They did and they didn't. And everything always relates to what you're producing and what your end game is. And I'm not going to say this demeaningly, but if you're doing weddings, or some of these weddings are very high end and bring in very high end video production houses. But if you're doing stuff like that and you're a one-man band, meaning that you go out and you shoot, whether or not it's your friends and you have 2 or 3 cameras, but if you then take that footage and then you go to your personal laptop or your own little edit station somewhere, and you're cutting all this together, you can get away with not having everything done in a professional work environment.
Right.
So there's a purpose for that. And the image quality, as you said, the images are great. It's amazing what these cameras can produce for the money you're paying for. But when you're missing those other bells and whistles, that's when you start running into a problem. If you get hired to go on a gig, like if I hire a rising professional camera operator who has his own gear, and a lot of times we'll hire somebody with their package. You're going to say, okay, your operator rate is this, and oh, you have your own camera package. Great. Here's what we'll pay for that. Mm-hmm. But if that package doesn't work in our environment, we're screwed. And then we won't hire you again, or we'll hire you and make you operate on one of our cameras, or we'll rent a camera for you. And here comes the big one. If you're not familiar with how cameras work and you don't understand the diversity and you can't jump from one camera to another because you've learned how to push the buttons on your camera but don't really know what those buttons do, that's the problem when you try to move over to working in a professional environment where you're getting thrown different gear all the time. I like to liken everything back to the music industry, which you all know that's my roots.
Right.
So there's musicians who are who have learned to play by ear, and then there's musicians who have learned theory of music itself.
Right, right.
The big difference is someone like myself, I've learned to play, I initially learned to play by ear, which was great. It got me a lot of work. I was able to write music. I was able to do things. But once I really moved into a much higher level of the industry, somebody handed me a chart. I would walk in as a session player and they would say, here's the chart for this song, blah, 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 play bass. And I'm looking at this going, that's Greek. I don't even know what this is. And I would always have, well, can somebody play me? And that's not how the environment works.
Right, right, right.
That doesn't mean I'm not as good as those musicians. It means I didn't learn the actual rudiments to be in a professional environment where that counts.
Right.
So I had to go backwards and train myself to understand theory of music so I can communicate with those professionals. The exact same is true when you move into television. It's just same when you move into any industry. Yeah. You're going to max out quickly when you don't have the depth of knowledge or education that you're going to need to communicate with the people who have that knowledge and education, who work at a much higher level.
So the right tools for the right job, the right skills for the proper work.
Always.
Thanks, buddy. Awesome.
You got it, cuz. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's show. We've got some really exciting online courses coming up on ferocity.com. See for yourself the exclusive details at ferocity.com and make sure you get on board for early notification of class openings, enrollment opportunities, and founding member benefits. Details at ferocity.com.